Previously on Ghost and Legends.
Just love to get to know you a little bit, visit a little while, maybe even become friends. Came on. This included an EVP captured on Copperhead's audio recorder. Maybe even become friends. Came on. Edwin had studied mediumship and so grieved his sister that as a seer he began conducting many seances within the house to try to contact her.
There was no mistaking these.
Yeah, not at all.
No mistaking these.
Yeah. We're going to get some footsteps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Guthrie, Oklahoma is probably the most haunted town in the state that was once known as Indian Territory. It was the first capital of Oklahoma. It contained the first federal prison within the state, and it's home to one of the largest Masonic temples in the world, as if somebody had just plucked up a building out of Washington, D.C. and dumped it in the middle of nowhere. Rife with history, legends, and secrets, Guthrie has a plethora of haunted locations. In this episode of Ghosts and Legends, we're going to tour the town. Behind me is the Stone Line Inn, my absolute favorite haunted house I have ever visited. I've talked about it on numerous occasions between interviews and even here on the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel. Experiences that I've had include an energy that almost knocked me out, shadows that I've seen, voices I've heard, footsteps. There was the white wisp that I captured after the bureau drawer closed, and even a framed photograph of Lizzie Borden that crashed to the stairs. Doors open and close on their own. All kinds of different things go on in this house. And really almost as soon as we had got back there, maybe we were back there for a few seconds, all of a sudden we hear this boom, slam from out in the foyer area. So we run out there to see what the heck was going on. And sure enough, that bureau drawer had slammed shut. And I started taking pictures. Johnny Longan, who was one of the investigators with us there at the time, he gets out his tri-field meter and he's trying to take different readings. And so between him and the bureau, I captured with my camera this fantastic white wisp between the two. One of the best pictures that I have. The old Logan County Memorial Hospital, where people have seen the image of a nun walking along the top floor. People have also felt grabbed by unseen forces. They've seen shadows, dancing balls of light, and just a sense of dread upon walking inside. Behind me is the legendary Bluebell Saloon, which again I covered in my Ghosts and Legends of Oklahoma book, and again the sun is right in my face. Probably most known for being the bar at which Tom Mix, a legendary 101 ranch wrangler and ranch hand, as well as a actor back in the day, we're talking like 1920s, where he actually bartended at and started to make his name. Of course, it also housed Miss Lizzie's Bordello, a house of ill repute that was up on the upper level. Now, there's a lot of ghost tales that surround this location, including Miss Lizzie herself, some of the different girls that are said to have worked there and even died there, and of course some of the people that used to frequent the bar back during the day. Something I just found out today is that there is actually a coffin in the basement of the Bluebell Saloon. However, nobody knows who it belongs to, so it remains a mystery. Now, the people that work there refuse to go down there now. They get very creeped out and want nothing to do with the basement. At one point in time, they were going to store things down there, but they elected to not do that. Also, nobody knows if there's actually a body in the coffin or if it's just an empty coffin sitting there. Everybody's just too creeped out to check it out. Of course, there's a lot of stories about the catwalk that went across the alleyway from the Elks Hotel into the bordello for more prominent patrons that did not want to be known that they were partaking of the girls there. Now, my Ghost Story and Case File story, Mysteries of the Church of Darkness, does visit the Bluebell Saloon, and the story of Claudia does exist within there. However, it's more facts mixed into a fictional tale rather than a full-out true story. But you get an idea of the type of lifestyle that occurred here back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It's a very noisy area, but right behind me is what they call the Black Jail, the first territorial prison. That's actually the newer section there. The prison part is in the back. I have a better shot of it, but right now there's construction going on down the street, so I can't get the right angle. But in any case, this is where James Phillips is said to have died from fright the day before he was set to be executed at the gallows. There's a woman that they see crossing the street from time to time. Traffic is actually stopped for her, and then she disappears. So some very interesting tales about this, and some really iffy, creepy type of history. In the 1800s, this was the only railroad line into the territory. In 1903, the brick structure behind me was built and serviced the Santa Fe Railroad until 1971 when Amtrak took over. A few years later, Amtrak ceased operation on the line. For many years, the building behind me contained a Harvey House restaurant, which throughout the Midwest became quite common. They originated out in the Kansas City area and then spread like wildfire. Of course, many people probably recall the Harvey girls, who were the waitresses and hostesses that serviced the restaurants. And they actually stayed here in the building. There was a headmistress that looked after them, and there is one that haunts here that many say was very, very stern, and she still looks out, other side, she still looks out of the windows there of the top floor where the girls actually stayed. There are some people that have actually witnessed some shadow activity in the basement as well, and just a general feeling of foreboding downstairs. At this point in time, it sits abandoned. The last time I was here, it housed a restaurant which is no longer in operation. Currently known as the Dominion House, this was the Masonic Children's Home. Actually originally started as both a children's and a elderly person's retirement home. It eventually, of course, just became a children's home. So it's one of those places where you have a lot of, bad stories about, that one headmistress that kind of went on a rampage and killed small children. There's rumors that graves and bodies have been found on the grounds, but of course, nothing ever confirmed, so it really just remains legend and superstition. But there are a number of hauntings inside of there's a maintenance man who hung himself, so there's supposed to be a dark shadow lurking around the bell tower. Some speculates the old headmistress, some speculates the person that hung himself. Other child entities have been witnessed as well. So, but right now it's used as an event location for weddings and such. So it's actually a very pretty home. We are at Boot Hill in Guthrie, which is actually Summitview's cemetery. Now, Boot Hill is an area of many cemeteries for nefarious folks such as this, but doesn't always have to be outlaws and nefarious folk. There are a number of different reasons for having a Boot Hill. This just happens to be one of them. A couple of notable subjects at this particular Boot Hill in Guthrie: Wild Bill Doolin, who headed up the Wild Bunch gang, a band of outlaws that frequented the area in the late 1800s. They used to frequent the Bluebell Saloon in town as well as their local watering hole. They also frequented the Black Jail when they were captured and incarcerated. However, Wild Bill Doolin also escaped from that Black Jail, was later hunted down, killed, and returned here to Boot Hill. Another outlaw from back at that time, although not a famous outlaw, more famous for his death, rather, was Elmer McCurdy. And Elmer McCurdy, he was, like I said, he was not actually a very good outlaw. In fact, he had made plans in order to rob a train passing through that had a large bankroll on it. He actually captured the wrong train and walked away with only $46. He was later killed in a small gunfight near the Oklahoma and Kansas border with some deputy sheriffs, and that is where the story of his life ends. However, it picks up more in death. He was involved and left in a local funeral parlor for a number of years. Nobody came to claim him, nobody wanted him. We don't really know much about his actual background. Well, some years later, a couple of brothers from California came through, must have heard of the story, and said, yeah, that's our other brother. And so they took his body, waxed it up, painted it, and called him the Dummy, and took him around as a traveling sideshow. Years later, people had forgotten who he actually was, just thought he was the Dummy, until one year at a fun house in California where they were filming an episode of The $6 Million Man, one of the crew went to move the Dummy and actually knocked off its arm and revealed that this was in fact an actual person. So they tracked down who this person was, determined that it was Elmer McCurdy, and brought him back here to Guthrie at Boot Hill. These are just the highlights of a town teeming with paranormal activity. Its colorful history woven in seamlessly with its haunts. It's no wonder that Guthrie leads off the book, Ghosts and Legends of Oklahoma. Until next time. All right, now, other side. All right, now you got, all right, now you got it like this. Come back around and the train is actually sitting right here at the depot. And by the way, it does have the Santa Fe insignia on it, the more modern one, the new one. But yeah, pretty cool. We're down here earlier talking about the ghosts of the Santa Fe Rail Depot. And now here it is. The train is actually sitting here. Love it. You know, got to take advantage of these moments when they come about, because they don't happen too often.